this country is an immigrant country. That's the first thing that everybody needs to know, understand. I mean, we are settlers. You and I, Italians who come here, we are all settlers. We came here and we have formed like a community. Okay, this land belongs to the indigenous people. We sit right now on unceded indigenous land. We have made this our own. So when we talk about immigrants, everybody is. The only people who are not immigrants are the indigenous people. And therefore, to look at ourselves and say we are blacks, we don't belong here, and what have you, it's kind of, for me, it's counterintuitive, because, you know, this is us, this is our country. We've come here, we pay taxes, our children go to school, we have our children here, they go to school here, they do everything. This is our country too. It doesn't have to be a white country, it is our country. And unfortunately, what has happened is that, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions about what is going on, who is who, and what have you. If we are able to think about it this way, that this is our country too, then there wouldn't be a problem. My analogy I give is, I had a friend at Carleton University, I won't mention his name, but he's Irish, you know, he's of Irish descent. And so when I see him, it's like, okay, my friend is very Irish, but he's also very Canadian. And he celebrates everything Canadian and celebrates everything Irish. So why can't I celebrate everything Ghanaian and celebrate everything Canadian? I can do both, and there will be no conflict of interest. And so when I came in, my goal was to make sure that I am experiencing everything that is Canadian fully, not part of it. So if I have to go to an Indian event, I will go to it. If I have to go to a Hindu event, I'll go to it. If I have to go to a Sikh event, the same thing. If I have to go to an Egyptian event in Canada, I'll do that. I don't hesitate to be involved as a Canadian. And that has helped me a lot and has opened a lot of doors for me to understand things even better.
Did that open the door to Bob, the mayor?
That actually opened the door to Mr. Shirley, because he wasn't the mayor at that time. You know, I knew Bob maybe 5 or 6 years before he became mayor. Mathieu DaCosta came here with Champlain, but for a very long time he was relegated to the background. You know how important Mathieu DaCosta was to Champlain? He was the interpreter. He interpreted everything to Champlain for Champlain to be able to call himself a discoverer. Now, who is Mathieu DaCosta, one may ask? Well, Mathieu DaCosta is my ancestor from Edina, Elmina. And where is Elmina? Elmina is right in Ghana, right there. In Elmina, there's a castle. It was built by Don Diogo de Ajambuja, okay, in the 15th century. Well, Ajambuja went back to Portugal with 700 black free people, including the great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of Mathieu DaCosta. When Mathieu DaCosta was growing up, he learned certain languages, including indigenous languages, including French, including English, Portuguese, Ghanaian languages, and he was just a genius. Okay, when Champlain was coming here, he needed somebody as his right-hand person, and that was Mathieu DaCosta. So when I say that my ancestor built Canada, this is the history that I'm saying. And you see, one of the things about me is my love for history. I want to delve into things and know what is going, the background and so on. So if any black kid tells me that he has nothing to do with Canada, that's sad, because they don't know the history. And you don't have to be a white person to be Canadian. And when you say you're Canadian, it doesn't mean that you don't have an ancestry that is beyond Canada. So we all need to understand these things. And black history must be, you know, celebrated by us black people, knowing very well that we have an ancestor who actually was part and parcel of building this country. You see, they neglected him for a very long time, and then suddenly, when black historians, black Canadians started talking about these things, well, we had to listen. So when you go back into the history, you see that these have happened, and then Heritage Canada has now taken the mantle. They are discovering a whole lot of different things about Mathieu DaCosta. The black community here, they work very hard. It's not that they're sitting there waiting for handouts. No, they work very hard. There was a group already working to get a place built for the black community. But of course, you know, we have these little things that happen, like for instance, we are Caribbeans and we are Africans, and we are those types of things. We are Francophone, we are Anglophone, that type of thing. So at that time, it was the Caribbean blacks who had started working together to get that. But then they had a vision of bringing the, you know, other part together. And so they had series of meetings, and they used Bob's office for their meetings and so on. And at a point, it was like, okay, we need some advice on what to do, because we need to build a place and that costs money, right? So it was, okay, so what should we do now? Is it possible for the City of Ottawa to give us some funding? We found out that the City of Ottawa cannot give funding to any community association to build a house. It's impossible. But if that organization raises funds, enough funds, Bob can help them to have the federal government match those funds. Okay, so that was the task. That was what they were supposed to be working on to get that done. Unfortunately, after that was 2 years into my stint, after the 4th year, not very much had been done. I was in contact with some of the leaders, but I don't know how far this has gone. But it's still my dream that if we can have the black community pull it together and have a place, you know, like the Sikhs have, okay? Ben Franklin did a great job of helping the Sikhs in Ottawa to get their Gurdwara going. Any mayor can do it. If only we go to that mayor as a delegation and put it there and then start working on it. It doesn't have to be a black mayor. I mean, Ben Franklin is not or was not a Sikh. But as a Sikh community came to him and worked with him, he found a place for them, and they fundraised to build a place. Okay, so my academic research is in water access. Political ecology of water access in developing countries. That is my academic research. And now that is what I am passionate about these days. So I do my research in, I say indigenous communities, but indigenous communities within Africa. So when I go to Malawi, for instance, that is the passion that took me there. I'm doing work in water access. So for instance, the last time I went to Malawi, I was a visiting professor there, and I was also hosted by an NGO called Find Your Feet. And Find Your Feet NGO works with poor people within the communities to help them, you know, find their feet. Basically, that's what it is. Help them with fertilizers and other things to be able to farm and so on. And what I brought to that was to help people to get access to water. So, you know, building boreholes and other things, because mostly the water system in some of these countries has been privatized. You have to buy the water. Some of these people do not even have the infrastructure in their homes. They don't have taps to open. They don't have the faucet and what have you. So what they do then is they buy the water from public standpipes. And that is not sustainable because it's expensive. And so what, in my first stint when I went to Malawi, what I was working on is helping communities to be able to build boreholes. Because the good thing about Malawi is that the water table is high.